Just before I get to my review of Saw X, I would like to thank you for 900 subscribers. Oh my god, that is 90% of the way to my goal. If you had told me 2 years ago I was gonna have 900 subs, I would have knocked your head off. There was no way I was thinking we were gonna get that. We just need to get those public watch hours up. Come on, I know we can do this. Hello and welcome to the first ever Saw video on this channel. And just to give you a bit of context as to where I stand with this franchise, I quite like most of it. I really like the first two. The third one I have mixed opinions on. And then from the rest onwards, it's a mixed bag, you know? There are certain elements from each of the movies that I quite like. So obviously, I did not want to go and rewatch every single movie to watch Saw X, but then of course I found out that it is just a prequel and a sequel, kind of like Transformers Rise of the Beast, in that obviously this movie takes place between Saw 1 and Saw 2. So, this movie, and I'm going to say it, you can get angry if you want to, I don't care. This is the best movie of the franchise. It is absolutely amazing. And oh my god, let's just get straight. So, the opening, right? As soon as the movie begins, you are thrown into it, right? John Kramer, he finds out about his cancer and everything like that. And the first trap, of course, is the absolutely amazing. It's the poster. It is literally the poster of the movie. And that is the eyeball trap. Of course, a sequence which I was really looking forward to seeing. And oh boy, it did not disappoint. My god. That trap, I gotta say, is definitely worthy of the poster, and it really wasn't that far into the movie, which I think is really, really good. And just the first thing that I want to say is that even if you are not like a proper Saw fan, you can watch this movie because realistically, you don't really need to know that much. Well, you don't need to see that much because even if you watch the first film, this is really good. But this, similar to a lot of horror movies nowadays, cater towards a new audience. Which, while I don't really agree with the idea, this one was still really entertaining because you know where this franchise goes and where it came from. The moment that Billy the Puppet showed up, I was genuinely amazed because I didn't even think of Billy. I was so invested into the story of John Kramer, and that is what this movie handled really well. Because the rest of this franchise, even the first movie, which is, yeah, it's good, but it's definitely very overrated in my opinion. The one thing that the Saw franchise just cannot get right is the flashbacks because they make things so complicated. They go flashback within a flashback within a flashback. This happened, then that happened. This why this person has that letter. This one has that recording. It really is just an overly complicated story, which it really doesn't need to be. This movie was simple. It catered towards both new and old Saw fans, and it was fantastic. You know, it was just so entertaining. And yes, the first half an hour of this movie is very it's not what you want because the only trap that you get in that first half an hour is the eyeball trap, which is like the very beginning. But it really does just follow the story of John and how he learns about these people from the guy from bloody Aquaman and the Rookie, which I was amazed to see him there because I know like none of the actors from the Saw franchise. But yeah, that happened, and I was really just I was really feeling for John in these moments because you know that this man is desperate. And I'm sorry, but I don't believe that John is evil. He really isn't. Everyone that he does these things to, they deserve it. Okay, well, maybe there's a few exceptions, like the cheating girlfriend from like Saw what 7 or whatever it was. That is the only one, and also the one where the guy was supposed to hook onto his nipples and then his wife got killed. Those are the only two where I'm like, okay, you push the limits a little bit. But yeah, this movie was pretty good. And also, I just want to sing the praises of the people in charge of like the practical effects, because if you know me, I hate CGI blood and gore. That is the only reason why I give Cocaine Bear 9 out of 10. Because while that movie was funny as hell, I hate CGI blood and gore. It is just horrendous. I hate it. I really appreciate practical effects, and particularly the scene with, I believe her name was Veronica Valentina, I think it was, where she had to like cut off her own leg and then her head got cut off. That was just absolutely gorgeous. That scene, the practical effects were beautiful. You can tell, like, it looked real. There was nothing about it that looked fake. And also, the following scene where I believe her name is Cecilia takes out her intestines and use it as a rope. That is one of the most fucked up things in this franchise. Not because Jigsaw told her to. She thought of that on her own, which is why I'm saying it is one of the most messed up things in this franchise. It is ridiculous. But obviously that just did not pay off. But oh boy, let's just talk about the traps as well. So obviously, as I said in the beginning, there was the eyeball trap. But then the next one, which was I believe of the cab driver, the taxi driver, whatever you call him, that one was crazy, honestly, because he had the explosives like put into his arms, and you might be like, oh, okay, yeah, you can just cut it off. He does the one, but then as soon as he puts his arm against the wall to do the second one, I'm like, how are you gonna do this now? Because your other arm is completely ruined. So that was a really good trap, and I'm actually surprised that he got it out. I thought he was gonna die. But yeah, that was a really, really good sequence there. And then the next one, I believe, is that Valentina who, oh my god, that was pretty crazy. As soon as the thing was getting closer to like the amount she needed, I was like, is she gonna survive too? There's no way. And then obviously her head gets cut off. That is, oh my god, so freaking cool. The next one was obviously the guy who was meant to cut out a piece of his brain. And I mean, to be fair, he did do it, but he was told that I believe it's the enzymes or something, would dissolve the brain. So he did definitely delay that a lot. And the one thing I liked in that scene was how he just didn't know what any of the tools were, further showing just how useless these people were. But yeah, I really did love that. And of course, when he does fail, the mask thing around him, obviously it was foreshadowed earlier, it heats up and then it closes on his face, very similar to the needle trap from Saw 2, I believe it is. Oh my god, that was really good. As for Gabriella, I was really worried. I'm gonna be honest with you. I was very worried that Amanda was gonna become soft and just let her go. Really glad that didn't happen. But yeah, that was a really cool death. I am kind of upset that we didn't see the aftermath, but then I remembered that that's not how those traps work. They just close, which in my opinion is definitely way better than actually showing what happens. Then we get to the main bitch, Cecilia, who I cannot believe this is the only reason why the name. Okay, so this movie was basically flawless. The only reason why I don't give it a perfect score is that Cecilia survived. I absolutely hated that. I cannot believe it. I genuinely could not believe it. I cannot wait for her to have the most brutal, torturous death, and then she bloody survives. Like, oh my god. I mean, obviously, it did make complete sense because that was the whole twist ending, just showing how intelligent and how like he's like 5 steps ahead. John Kramer, he is too clever. He is absolutely ridiculous. He's the biggest brain individual. I mean, he has a big brain, but he has a tumor on it. But you know what I mean. I genuinely did not know how he was going to get out of that situation. Obviously, because this is a prequel, you know that they're not going to kill off John Kramer or Amanda. Ooh, sorry, I'm really tired. But as I was saying, you can't kill them off. Of course, this is a prequel, and that's why I was like, how the hell are they going to get out of this situation? And then as soon as I saw the kid Carlos kicking the ball against the wall, I was like, no, no, she's gonna kill the kid. Which I mean, in most movies, I hate children. So in most movies, I would support killing the kid. But it's because we met this kid earlier and we saw how nice John was to him. He fixed his bike. We had a kind of connection with that kid. So I didn't actually want to see him die. But that whole sequence of the two of them on the like seesaw thing, absolutely fantastic. And that's what I was asking myself. There were two questions I was asking myself, right? Throughout the movie, and they both got answered. One is who exactly who was going to be in that second seat? Because it was only Cecilia. So I was like, that doesn't make any sense then. Who was going to be in the other one? And of course, that explains that. It was obviously all planned by John. And then the second question, which gets answered in the post-credit scene, is why did this guy from The Rookie and Aquaman just act like everything was completely fine? That just did not make sense to me throughout the whole movie. I was like, this guy recommended them to him. Why would he do that? That makes no sense. And then we get the big bombshell, and that was Detective Hoffman. I don't know how I didn't piece it together earlier, but as soon as John Kramer said detective, and then he turns him around and we see Hoffman, that was crazy. I was so happy seeing that, honestly. Like Amanda was cool in this movie, I'll be honest, but seeing Hoffman, oh man, that was awesome. Also, just another general note is that the music for this film, oh my god, it was fantastic. The music, the practical effects, and how well they wrote the story of John Kramer, because you really felt bad for this man. And especially the scene where they're like, "Oh, John, please, you can't do this. This isn't right. Please save me." I was like, you can't let them go after what they did. And John just does not give a shit. He literally just goes, "You're telling me that it's not right. Oh God, it was fantastic. It was so satisfying seeing these people die after what they did to John." But yeah, again, I am quite annoyed that for some odd reason Cecilia survived. I really don't like that because she was the worst out of all of them. All of them died except for her. Why? 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 Also, I forgot about Gabriella's trap. That one was really cool. I was surprised that she lived, and I was on the same wavelength as Cecilia with that one. I was like, why would you start with your hand? Do your foot first. Not because of her swinging away from it. My thought process was, if you break your foot first, it would be easier to hang, because at least if you do your foot first and then do your hand, you would just fall straight down. If you do your hand first, then you're going to be hanging at this weird ass angle. Actually, no, you'd fall. I just realized you would just completely fall and you can't do anything about it. So yeah, I was on the same wavelength as Cecilia with that one. Cecilia killing Gabriella, I did not see that coming at all. Why? Again, why didn't this bitch die? That was the most shocking death, in my opinion, was Gabriella. That was like watching bloody Andrea get killed by Todd from Breaking Bad all over again. I did not expect that at all. Oh my god, that was crazy. But yeah, the whole thing about making Jigsaw a sympathetic villain, I think was done really well in this movie. And this really is what Don't Breathe 2 should have been. Because in that movie, they did very much try to make the old man kind of sympathetic, make you feel sorry for him. Yeah, it just didn't work. It really did not work, and that is why many people hate Don't Breathe 2. This movie, yes, they did it right. They did John Kramer right, and Tobin Bell killed it. Honestly, I love listening to that man, where he's like, "This isn't retribution, it's an awakening," or something like that. Whatever he said. God damn it, that was so freaking cool. So my overall thoughts with this movie, I will say that it's the best of the franchise, happily, and overall. I was gonna say, right? I was saying before I watched this movie, I was like, I am gonna deduct a point for the title because X has become my least favorite letter because of how overused it is to try to make something sound cool. Fast X, which really should have been called Fasten Your Seatbelts. They call it Fast X. Saw 10, what are you gonna call it? Saw X. I mean, I know we had Jason X, but that was like, that made sense with the premise of the movie. And then obviously Twitter got renamed to X. Oh god, I hate that letter now. But it's okay. The movie was way cooler than I thought it would be. So that point will not be deducted. So overall, I give Saw X a 9 out of 10. The only reason it doesn't get a 10 is again because Cecilia survived. I feel like that's the only thing that should have, happened, is just her getting a horrendous death. But anyway, if you did enjoy this video, please leave a like, subscribe, and goodbye.